It's August 21st, and welcome to episode 96 of the Driving Forward podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening in on one of our 18 platforms, including Reese across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. I don't know why I'm looking down. I can say this one without even thinking about it. So we appreciate your support. It is very, very echoey in here. I'm glad. Hopefully our mics are holding up. Next week, we're live with Hellbent Hagen. Jamie Hagen has been on the show before, but just for a brief moment. I believe it was back at BCS in Fort Worth. So a year ago in October. Jamie owns Hellbent Express. He's passionate about just optimizing trucking companies altogether. I love chatting with him about efficiencies, about Mack trucks. I'm passionate about Mack trucks going way back in the day. He's just a fuel optimizer as well. So tune in next week, Thursday, to talk. We're talking with Jamie Hagen, and that should be an excellent episode. Here's the list of events coming up for GLCS. In September, I'll be at Clio Connect Supply Chain Summit in Rosemont, Illinois. Following that, towards the end of September, we have a whole crew of people at McLeod User Summit, and then a string of events following that through the end of the year. And just calling out Reese across America. The event itself is December 15th this year. If you are looking to sponsor, if you're looking to buy wreaths, if you're looking to come out and help us lay wreaths, if you need any, if you have any questions on where you should go to help out, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer those questions or point you to the right parties to help. So tonight is our freight movement event in Atlanta. So we're taking over Atlanta. We got a lot of people coming too. So we're at New Realm Brewery.
Close enough.
From 6 to 9 p.m. tonight. And the event is posted on Eventbrite. So we'll drop that link in the comments. We still have some room left.
Yep.
I think we've had 5 or 6 people in the last hour jump on. So if you're not going to make it, please go into Eventbrite and say you're not going to make it, because I think we're going to be borderline at capacity. We have a DJ, so we'll have some good music. We'll have tunes. We'll have a couple cocktails. So yeah, it'd be great.
Boots and cats.
So should be a great time. Lots and lots of people coming. The networking on this one is all over the place. Every type of company in transportation is going to be there, from maintenance to marketing, brokerage,
investors,
exactly.
VCs.
So and CEOs to new people. I'm very excited about this one. We took a different tactic this time on invites and managing it. And I think it worked out. We'll see how it executes, but excited about that. So September 21st, we'll be at Aurora, Colorado at the Gaylord Rockies, adjacent to McLeod User Conference. We're excited about that one. It is, once again, at the Gaylord. That's on a Sunday. So Sunday from 8 to 11 p.m. It's following the McLeod User Conference kickoff, and we're super excited to work with everyone at the McLeod conference there. We'll have some golf simulators. We do have a really tight, I think we can only have 100 people. So maybe a little bit more than 100 people. So we'll have tight attendance on that one. So
so when we release the tickets, get your ticket fast.
Get your ticket fast, and be aware there may be some rules for how many people can come to that. So we'll have security at the door too. So in the name of a couple people. So
it's usually us.
Well, yeah.
I still can't forget the girls at Manifest. They're like little tiny, 15-year-old girls.
They're like badgers.
They were like badgers. You can't come in.
So, All right, so welcome to this special live edition of the show. Today we're talking about marketing that actually makes a difference. And joining me are two leaders who don't just follow the trends, they set them. And first we have Whitney Cowell. And Whitney, this is Whitney's first time on the show, but she's well known, and I feel like she's been on the show a whole bunch of times, but she hasn't. So Whitney, her work bridges strategy and storytelling in ways that elevate logistics brands from behind the scenes to front of mind. And her approach is all about clarity, connection, and creating campaigns that resonate across the supply chain. And Whitney has a wonderful podcast called Dry Conversations. And if you haven't checked it out, you should. She speaks about the path of self-discovery, and she makes people cry.
That wasn't the goal.
What do? I make people cry.
It's a wonderful platform of discovery, and I really do suggest you check it out. And right beside Whitney is Jennie Malafarina. Jennie's been on the show a number of times. She's also my partner in Freight Movement. Jennie is a visionary who transforms complex logistics and compelling narratives. So that's a mouthful there, but I looked at that a couple of times. So
like, what do I do?
yeah. So and you can give me the $20 later.
Okay.
So Jennie's known for crafting marketing experience, and I thought about this one for a minute when I was writing it, but whether through events, digital content, or brand strategy that makes freight feel fresh and relevant. So say that fast. So
We'll put him on the payroll and put him in the key messaging.
So Jennie's got a
freight
wonderful
feel fresh.
podcast called Freight Marketing Gurus that dives into the industry's marketing topics and the people that drive the strategy surrounding it. So together today, we're going to explore the transactional world of marketing, and we're going to get live, unscripted, and kind of chat about all the different insights around what's humanly possible in marketing. So,
Sure.
So with that being said, welcome to Driving Forward. So
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
yeah. So what inspired you guys to focus your expertise specifically in transportation and logistics?
Well, my personal background getting into transportation, I first started at TMW Systems, and I was working at a marketing agency, and I have 3 children, and marketing agencies don't offer insurance, right, Whitney?
Nope.
So they don't typically offer insurance. So I had a headhunter reach out to me, ask me if I was interested in talking to a company, and I was like, no, I've only been here for 10 months. I'm not really looking. And they're like, we have insurance. And I was like, oh, say less. So I went over to TMW Systems and I interviewed, and I really loved it. And that's how I got into the industry. And I've kind of just shuffled around since then. And that was back in 2016.
2016 is when I started in the industry as well, at Comdata, working with small fleets, mostly owner operators on the fuel card side. So, it wasn't starting off in marketing necessarily, but I feel like once you're in the industry, it's really hard to leave because you fall in love with the people.
Aww.
Well, I agree. I think once you spend a year in this industry, if you're either out or you're in it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think that the people in this industry, if you bond with them, you're locked in, because it's a wonderful group of people. It's a dichotomy of all people. So, I mean, if you really cross-section transportation logistics, it's 40 million plus people. I mean, if you're just thinking trucking, it's about 8 million people, but overall transportation logistics is 40 million people, and that's a substantial amount of the population of the US. So it is a cross-section of the entire dichotomy of the US, but then you get into it and you go, it's actually a pretty interesting cross-section, because it's a lot of hardworking, good, down-to-earth, smart group of people. So,
And I think to answer your question, the reason why we're focused on it is because that's what we know.
Sure.
That's what we do really well, and that's what we want to provide to other people. Is like, we've either sat in your seat or been one of your customers, depending on where you are in the supply chain. So we fully understand the conversations that need to be had.
I think that's, why we exist, because we know the space, and that's why we solely serve trucking and logistics, because we know it makes us very effective and proactive. But I'm very passionate about it. So marketing has always been one of those things. Having the analytics side, I love it. It's an art and a science. So for me, I love waking up every day and talking to clients and figuring out how we're going to go to market and looking at reports and analyzing and saying, okay, how do we do these things differently to get better results? I'm passionate about it. So it drives me.
Well, I think passion is the root of kind of everything that
well, there's some people that are like, I hate my job. Getting out of bed is really hard. And I'm like, I don't feel that way.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you did, then you wouldn't be as driven as you are. So, so how would you describe kind of the current state of marketing in the industry?
It's changing. It's changing fast. I think in the last 4 years, at least from my experience, the last 4 years, there's been an evolution of not only what people are looking for, but the ways that they're getting to those results. And, technology has exploded in directions that I think some of us maybe weren't prepared for. Those of us that were, now there's so many options that it's really like narrowing down and finding the best fit. And that's a lot of the conversations that we have with our clients today. And then that's just the marketing side. That is not even taking into account what's happening in the actual industry and how that's impacting what the conversations for revenue are looking like.
Yeah, I think there's I went to the Jarrett Supply Chain Logistics Conference or Supply Chain Summit. And a guy got on stage and he talked about adaptability is your strategy. And that just couldn't be more true. Whether, you're trying to figure out how to generate revenue, kind of adapting. Can I open a new lane? Can I expand my services? Like right now, you've got to really be open to not just how you go to market with your messaging, but what you offer. Like myself, I look at other avenues for generating revenue that complement Virago, right? Like you kind of got to think outside the box. We're in a winter season where now's the time to really focus on the business, get your ducks in a line, re-strategize, realign, and figure out how you're going to bounce back and excel, even when everybody's just sitting on their hands saying, well, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to do anything. You're missing out. This is a huge opportunity. So now's the time to kind of take some of those leaps of faith. I'm not saying do dumb stuff. I'm not saying go invest or spend all your money on something. I'm saying make some strategic decisions and make them quickly and get ahead, because now is the time to set yourself apart. Everybody's pulling back on advertising and their spend. Now's the time to get the cheaper advertising, because you're going to have less competition. So it's all about how you think about things. Do you want to sit here and see what happens? And I mean, your business could fold or it could survive, or do you want to fight?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought process about it is, be open to new ideas, innovate, strategize, and build your house.
Yeah. Being reactive is never a good strategy. And that is something that we see where people are waiting, just kind of sitting on it because they're nervous to make a decision. And it's easier to pivot when you've been proactive and to pivot into lanes that are going to make more sense and to adjust than it is to ramp up and start when you're already behind.
Yeah.
I advise many people in transportation logistics, not only trucking companies, 3PLs, brokerages, but also those that support them, to mimic their customers. So in a lot of cases, you look at, as you scale this up, you're typically looking at a shipper or supplier. But if you go down to a trucking company, to go up one or two steps on the customer chain. So you look at how flexible our customers or our customers are. And in many cases, that goes up to a trucking company or a 3PL. And there's a rolling stock in there somewhere, which is trucks, drivers, trailers. And they can reposition those assets really fast if they want to. And really fast means 6 months, 12 months, not tomorrow.
Sure.
For a large organization. For a small organization, that could be tomorrow. But for a mid-market organization, it's 6 to 12 months. So if you're not nimble as a small to mid-size consultancy freight tech organization, and there's not a lot of large freight tech organizations in transportation and logistics. If you're not nimble and able to support that rolling stock, those people that can just pivot and move $100 million worth of assets around, then you're going to struggle with that. So to your point of, hey, the strategy's changed, we have to change with them. Or even more so, we have to figure out where the strategy is going to change before our customers are going to change with it. So that's certainly, I can resonate with that, not only from a marketing aspect, because I think the whole world has changed.
Yeah.
I think this industry's been on its own little revolution here for the last 4 years, maybe 6 years. Well, honestly, it's probably been longer than that, but it was going like this, and then it went like this.
Right.
So,
yep.
And some people haven't even got on that revolution at all in any way, shape, or form. So from a marketing aspect, though, I do see where you're coming from that. And some companies are not spending any money or not even focusing on it in any way, shape, or form. So what do you think some of the misconceptions are out there in the space today comparative to like 5 or 6 years ago?
I don't want to bash anything, because I do think that there's value in most things in the market in terms of advertising and shows and stuff like that. But I think one of the misconceptions is that you have to be present at the shows to exist. So back in the day when I was at TMW, if you weren't at the show, you didn't exist. But we're talking to a lot of companies that, they're making strategic decisions of where to allocate their dollars. And that means they're not at the show. It doesn't mean they don't exist, but they're not going to just show up like they used to for the sake of checking a box. A lot of companies are really focused on, I give you $1, how do I get $3 back? So they're reevaluating what they used to, do. Because when I was there, it was like, we do these 32 shows. Why? Because we have to show we exist.
Right. Because we have to be there.
Right.
We have to be there.
There are certain rings that have to be kissed with certain organizations, and you have to go there.
Yeah.
So, and there still are those, to be honest with you, there still are those things that you have to go to.
Sure.
There's just not 32 of them.
Yeah.
So
I think,
whatever the number is.
Yeah, they're just kind of reevaluating where they're showing up and where they're seeing value, and they have to, because going to these shows is not cheap.
I think there is shows where you are supporting the industry, and those shows are important because you have to support the industry, and companies have to decide what they're going to do there. And you might not get a return out of that show because today, you might not get a return out of that show tomorrow. You may never get a return out of that show, but you're supporting the industry through advocacy or whatnot, and you're giving dollars to that organization.
So I think that's one
thing. Have to
thing.
decide.
To go to these shows and support the industry, that's one thing. But a lot of people are saying, how many leads are we getting from the show?
Correct.
And they're not going with that KPI, and they're going with I'm going to support the industry, and that's not necessarily checking the box. In
the past, I think companies have looked at that as a marketing spend, and they need to reevaluate that as this is an industry support.
Or even like a swim lane, right? Like, it's totally part of branding. But you can't say, I'm going to this show to advocate for the industry and expect to come back with 20 leads.
Right.
Like, that's not the purpose of the show.
Yeah.
You were going to say something?
Oh, I mean, I was just going to agree with, I think from the seats that I've sat in over the last several years, I feel like one of the big misconceptions is there are like these specific programs and things that I have to do, and that's going to generate ROI. And that doesn't fit for every type of business. It doesn't fit for every size of business. And one thing that I'm learning, having more conversations today, is people think they have to have these astronomical budgets to be effective, and you really don't.
No.
Yeah.
And
especially with the technology available.
Right. And that's something that I've seen kind of because as more things are becoming available, I have to go to these shows, I have to run these programs, I have to invest in this swag, I have to do, and then it's this super long list instead of being bold enough to say, I'm going to focus on these things, and I don't have to invest a lot of, allocate a lot of budget for all of it necessarily to see really strong results. Like you can do a lot organically and run pretty bootstrapped and still make a very strong name for yourself. And I don't know that was something that was available like 10 years ago, or if it's just.
It's the power of social media and a few other things, but I mean, social media will take you so far.
Sure, yeah.
There's some of that. It's not necessarily the only avenue. I don't know if that existed in the right way 10 years ago like it does now.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if it existed 10 years ago, but it's also sort of blending now. It's a little more, it's not as, you have to be somehow able to make it happen today. It depends on the market, who you are, how you're going to signal yourself, and you have to be willing to put in the work. So if you're not willing to put in the work, you can't just magically put out a post and say, this is a really good post, it's going to work well. But if you don't put out 100 of those posts for 100 days,
and to Jenny's point about trade shows, I don't know that you have to go to all of these big name trade shows. There are a lot of really niche local things that you can go to where your decision maker is going to be sitting in that seat, but maybe not going to the really large trade shows because they don't want to walk in and be sold to. And those are
the Expo floor is the shark.
Right.
That's what I call it.
And so, but that's something that maybe some people haven't thought of, is like, oh, well, there's like 7 associations, and one of them is within my region, and that's a 3-hour drive for me to go sit down with 4 people, that are going to be the decision makers I need to be in front of, and they're never going to walk into some of these other trade shows. So why would I not just go there for this like coffee networking local thing? And I've seen that work.
Yeah.
I think the other part that's dead is going to visit the offices. So
I know people that are still doing that.
People still doing that.
I know people that are still.
It's one of our best things.
Is it?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I actually do it, but the difference is you don't just blanket it. So that's changed. You don't go to an area and you just don't randomly show up.
Go drop off donut boxes.
You don't. Oh, donuts are not. No, don't do donuts.
I know people that are doing donuts.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're not doing the donut drops
but
anymore.
I don't. The last thing you want to do is be like,
but you don't drop
get
in
healthy.
on them is my point.
No.
You're not just going to show up and, hey, I have a box of donuts. Can we have a chat?
Mm-hmm.
This is still, transportation logistics is a relationship industry. And I think everyone out there, most of our customers have all gone back to some sort of office, if they can, have gone back to some sort of office schedule of some kind. If they're not fully in the office, they're in the office a couple of days a week. And we find value in coming out and meeting with them. That's what every freight movement event, I'm coming into the area visiting customers that whole week usually.
Right.
I go out and do tours. I need to do a tour between Indiana and Ohio. I've got probably 20 customers I need to visit there, and we get great value out of that. Plus, it's a relationship thing. So it's the same thing as the small events, but I think that it depends on what you're doing, what your product is. Shippers maybe don't want you to come in, because that's a different thing.
I can tell you from experience.
So
they don't love that.
Well, I meant we're not doing the donut drops anymore.
Yeah.
We're not just
But
driving to Birmingham and dropping off
one thing that can be effective with shippers is, I know you're busy, and instead of me just sending you a link to my calendar for us to schedule a time, I'm going to be in the area. Tell me what your favorite coffee shop is, your favorite pastry shop. Let me come by, drop it off, 15 minutes of conversation. And that typically goes a lot better than just showing up with donuts. Because if you show up with a box of donuts, they know you're making the rounds.
Right.
That's very different.
The front office lady is going to get it and pass them out.
I know. I'm like, sweet Deborah in the front is doing her job. But, that shows a level of attention that, if they're my customer, they know, hopefully people that are doing this tactic are wrapping back around of, hey, really enjoyed working with you for the last 6 months. I remember this was your favorite shop. Can I just come by and, either take you to lunch or bring lunch to you? I know that you're busy. Like that personal touch
and the relationship.
That's what builds the relationship.
Yeah, I think ultimately the sales tactic on all different avenues and every different sales role for the different sectors of the industry has changed over the last 20 years substantially. So the sales tactic of old, of go knock on. So we were talking about this last night at dinner. What did I used to do when I was selling? I would go from warehouse to warehouse to warehouse to warehouse to warehouse, knock on a door, hand out a card. I didn't have any tool to do it any other way. You would just do that. I would follow trucks around to see where they were delivering. That's how we would do stuff. You would go to I would be in Miraloma or Fontana, California or whatever, and I'd follow trucks around to see where they're delivering. I'd try to figure out what they're doing. We'd do research that way. You'd have a little bit of stuff on the internet, but it wasn't like you had the data that you have today.
Right.
So now today you've got all this stuff at your fingertips, so you can do all kinds of research and build out, some sort of plan of attack ahead of time. So it's a whole different sales tactic. Plus your RFPs are coming out, every 5 minutes.
I also think the sales team itself has evolved.
Oh,
so if you were sales has evolved. Look, I'm a salesperson. She's a salesperson. You're a salesperson.
Well,
everybody's a salesperson now. Before it used to be like, you talk to somebody, you used to talk to my salesperson, but now everybody, goes to these events or has these conversations and can play a role in the sales process, especially as they're building their own personal brands. Like Bane's not here. He's very much a personal brand in the industry. People know him as the strongest man in logistics. It kicks off a lot of conversations. I don't think his title includes sales, but I guarantee he drives sales conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
let's kind of double back here a little bit and say, what can carriers, brokers, freight tech, anyone in the industry do to differentiate themselves from a marketing aspect? Because we talked about a lot of things from marketing. We talked about a lot of strategies on marketing, and we've talked a little bit about sales, but let's talk about differentiators.
I think the biggest conversation or the most prevalent conversation we are having right now is in your messaging.
Yeah.
Like we are talking to 3PLs and they're like, we sound just like this 3PL.
Yep.
And then the other one is, we do everything for everyone. Well, if you do everything for everyone, you don't do anything really, really well.
No. And you can't say that you specialize in everything. That's just not how that works. And from the conversations we've had, it's this fear of missing out on an opportunity because you have a point of view on certain sectors. And because of that, because you are strong in certain verticals, that means you can't do these other things. And that's not how it will be received, but that's a very difficult conversation to have with 3PLs. But having point of view, having it in the messaging of, we are experts in this. Here are the customer conversations that you can watch, that you can read, that are backing the fact that we're experts in this. That's what's going to set them apart, because I think for so long, a lot of people are still doing if you have it, we'll move it. Like we're just desperate for freight. And I get the mindset and the economy of where that comes from, but that is not going to set you apart. It's not going to win business.
So Dave Williams spoke at the Minnesota Trucking Association. Dave is I'm not sure exactly what his title is now, but he handles Knight-Swift's government affairs. It might be the senior VP or executive VP of government affairs. But he spoke about what trucking companies should do, because you're not going to be, as a trucking company, as brokerages, whatever, any logistics company, about from a mid-market on down. Because if you're going to go try to compete with Knight-Swift or C.R. England or Schneider or whoever, you're going to struggle with that, right? But if you're going to find a niche, so if you find a niche, you will beat them. You'll beat them all the time. And in a down market in the winter, you might lose. You might lose to them because they have a price point and they are a steady Eddie, and you might lose to them. But then when you get back to summer, they're gonna start losing because they can't be that niche. They can't have that service.
They can't have that level of service in a specific area.
They just can't compete with that. So to your point, don't try to, you can have that base level of we're going to do everything for everybody, but then do a couple of things, start with one that puts you above and beyond everyone else. And I will say the communicate, everyone says we're great communicators. We're best at communication. So be best at communication, be the best possible communicator that you can be. But don't tell your customers you're the best possible, just be the best possible communicator and let them realize how awesome you are at communication. So.
Yeah, and it's not just for 3PLs, but like tech too. There's so many TMSs. How do you differentiate?
Yeah,
like if you're gonna say and yes, like yes we do that, yes we do that. Like, what do you do that the others don't do? Because ultimately, it's going to come down to product functionality and looking at it. And if you don't set yourself apart in the product, the other product will win on price.
Right.
And you don't want to compete on price. You want to compete on product functionality.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the freight tech side, definitely when you are in a saturated sector of freight tech, finding that niche is even more important. Mm-hmm. If you have the niche, if you already know what it is, make sure you're loud about it, because we don't. So, or I mean, not everyone does. So
you mentioned this is a relationship industry, right? We're pretty close knit. We see each other at the shows, even though there's 40 million, you said?
40 some odd million, like 42 or 43 million people in supply chain, yeah.
This industry talks. Who do you use? What do you think? So brand perception should be part of your go-to-market strategy. Like if you're upsetting customers or your product can't go live, you really need to combat that before it gets out there. Because once it's out there, it just circulates. And people are like, that one doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Don't use that. That's been a bad experience.
On the 3PL side, how are you treating your carriers? Because they talk too.
Yeah, the freight intelligence.
Everybody talks. Yeah. Everybody talks.
Yeah, everybody knows. So absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be out for about a minute and a half. We'll come back. We'll go over some news, just a couple of quick stories, which I found out these guys have more intel on than I expected. And then we'll hit back up with more questions on marketing and transportation and logistics and all the insights with that. So we'll be back in a minute and a half. If you have questions, queue them up for us. We'd love to hear them. Talk to you in a minute. If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the fast-paced world of trucking and logistics, time is everything. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep transportation and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them. With our industry connections and proactive approach, we keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise. And we're back. We're back. All right. So Pete said this earlier, but he says have an IPA for us. So
Pete, we need your marketing questions.
Yeah, marketing questions.
Don't go into. He's going to go to ChatGPT. What's the hardest marketing question I can ask?
Don't do that, Pete.
Don't do that, Pete.
You can give it a shot, but I don't know what.
Throw it at us, Pete.
Yeah, give it a go, Pete. Give it a go.
Like, oh.
So we've got the freight marketing guru here. So give it a go.
I talk to freight marketing gurus.
Oh, okay.
Well, no.
Well, no. Oh, okay.
I want to be the free marketing guru, but I talk to
Come on, Pete. Give it a shot. Give us the hardest marketing question you can get. Maybe we can get Jennie to cry. Then.
A full circle moment for me.
All right. So on the news this week. Oh, hold on. We got one question.
Oh, now everybody's gonna look
All
at
right.
our marketing questions.
So and Wesley, I'm gonna whiff on your last name, Gaiman, I think. So Wesley Gaiman, have you been utilizing SEO for any freight companies, and what are you seeing succeed on that front?
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with 2 different freight companies for over a year on SEO and have seen success, but I'd love to get your insights.
So I'll kind of start on that one because there is so much evolution going on, not just in the industry, but in marketing tools, in technology, and AI specifically. We are actually focusing more of our efforts on AEO, which could be considered answer engine optimization, AI optimization, whatever acronym you want to use. But the point is, when people are shifting their search behavior, they're using ChatGPT, they're using Perplexity, they're using Gemini. So they're moving away from Google, and Google used to be focused on the keywords, and the keywords would pull up your website. Now these chat models are looking at the context of answering the question. So they're pulling up the specific location on your website where they're answering the question, and they're plugging that into the search results. I love seeing this on Google personally because Google has the first 2 pages of ads that people are paying astronomical amounts of money for, and Gemini will show above it. So if you can optimize to show on those AI platforms, you will beat out paid opportunities on Google. So I think that's huge. And so that's really where we're focusing our efforts, is actually, embracing technology, the evolution, and saying people, 20% of people are moving to these GPTs. Google's kind of losing its search volume. Like, things are just changing. So we are preparing for that. And I think embracing that before, somebody's going to get a hold of ChatGPT and figure out how to monetize like advertising, right? So your search results will, we'll have ads. That's how Google works.
Yeah.
It started with like 1, then it was 2, and now it's pages.
It'll hit on the search engine side. They'll figure out how to flip that.
Right. It'll happen. So before, some marketers go destroy that, we're gonna optimize for it and leverage that for search results.
Yeah. And that's not, to your point, that's also like, if you were to ask a question in ChatGPT and simply say, cite your sources as well, that will let you know where they're pulling from. So if you are curious about maybe who your competitors are or where it's finding that information, you can actually, because of the way that it's sourced, you can still find that information instead of just seeing that overview, because the overview may pull from one place, but if you click to continue reading more, it will pull more sources. If you put it in an AI search tool, if there's bullet points, there might be 7 different sources. And so then you can kind of pick and choose, okay, where do I need to rank? What do I need to be competitive towards?
So Wesley came back with, you guys got it right. So appreciate the question, Wesley. So,
thank you.
All right. So Pete circled up with.
Did you say Leslie?
Wesley.
Okay. Well, Wesley, we want to talk to you. Shoot me an email.
Pete says, how much of a company's spend should be on marketing or advertising, and maybe what percentage of revenue?
So typically what I hear is 14%. Do I think that's what they actually do? No, I don't think a lot of CEOs actually like the idea of spending 14% of revenue on marketing.
Just made me throw up a little bit.
Exactly.
Missy's in the background like, all right, we're going to talk about this later. I mean, you can look it up and research it yourself. ChatGPT and Perplexity.
I think it varies on what phase the company's in. Are they in a building phase? Are they in a maintaining phase? Are they extremely mature and well branded? What are they looking to do something different? That type of thing. So, but it can be all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part about answering a broad question, because I've had that question come up on another podcast that I was on like 2 years ago of like, if I had $500, as a young company, where should I invest it with my marketing? And my first question is, well, what kind of goal are you working towards? Because that's going to be how we direct the finances. Oh,
Missy just laughed.
Oh,
And then if you roll that, back another question of like, well, where did that 500 come from? So
yeah, I mean, I understand the company being in different phases, but it's like you said, what are you trying to accomplish? And
Right.
at different phases, you're trying to accomplish different things. So if you're trying to get from a seedling to a sprout to a tree, whatever, there are things that you need to accomplish, and you need that budget to get you there.
mm-hmm.
So I'll tell Missy she needs to come on the podcast to talk about it.
If you want 14%, you have to come on the podcast.
She's saying comments behind the scenes. So
Oh,
she
okay.
needs to come talk to you. She needs to come on one of your podcasts.
But I'll also tell
Not
you,
mine.
that
I'll
is,
make her
Oh,
cry.
yeah.
I think 14% is one of those things that would be like really nice to have, but we see a lot less. Like you,
Yeah.
right? I think 9% is probably more realistic. Even 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I think it depends upon the industry. On the manufacturing side, you're going to see a lot less. On a trucking company, you're going to see a lot less because you have revenue and costs on trucks, on
The
rolling
overhead.
stock, right? So it's a different. On a brokerage, you might see a little higher percentage of number. Also your recruiting might or might not be considered marketing. So if it is considered marketing, that spend's going to be higher. It might not be considered marketing. So
Right. And a lot of people combine marketing and sales.
Marketing, sales, and partnerships.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, it depends on how you break it all down too.
Sure. So flipping that, I mean, how can marketing help? I just mentioned the driver recruiting thing. How can marketing help with driver recruiting today? Have you guys worked with anybody on that?
We don't
side?
necessarily do the driver recruiting. That is a very specialized tactic, but I've talked to some really awesome people who do cool things in the space in terms of driver recruiting. And a lot of it is like crowdsourced. So there are groups for drivers on Facebook, and then they leverage those groups to put messaging around recruiting for drivers, because it's a driver group. So of course, it's a whole bunch of drivers looking for opportunities or better opportunities. And so if they built that infrastructure, and now they could put their marketing message out to them about different opportunities. So that's what I've seen in terms of being effective. I know there's lots of different ways to go about it, but I kind of consider that almost like recruiting, HR a little different than what we do.
And I've only done like the corporate recruiting, like the messaging and the campaigns around that in a growth sprint. But I think if that's something that somebody needs, like we would happily introduce you to the people that we know that do that very well.
Sure. So we skipped right past the news, and that's because we had a bunch of comments in. And that's perfectly fine. But let's go back to it. So once again, as I was saying before, the news kind of popped up. I'm going to switch my screen over here so I can scroll down. So Truck Stop buys Denim to offer a faster payment processing. So
It sure did.
And I didn't think about this when I was putting it up. I know a whole bunch of people at Truck Stop, and this was top on my list to put on here. And then as we sat down, you're like, oh, well, we were in the middle of that. So we know all about that. So why don't you guys talk about that a little bit in the way that you can?
Yeah, I mean, internally we had conversations about how Denim is or Truck Stop is a perfect home for Denim. So I mean, just working with the payment processing and stuff, it seems like a very natural and good fit for them. And I feel like that's kind of what I hear when I talk to people, is like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It's like, oh, that seems like a really good combination. So, I mean, that's as much as I know for now.
Sure. So I think, in my opinion, it offers many of the mid and small companies that work with Truck Stop an avenue for factoring. So, and that's a great avenue for Denim to expand its services. So that just seemed like a good marriage to me. So I look forward to seeing where Truck Stop takes that. I think it was a good move.
I think that's kind of going to that adaptability as your strategy. M&A is part of that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And this is a way to expand services, expand markets. That makes a lot of sense.
And it came at a really great time too.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so I'm going to try hitting this button, make sure that popped up right on StreamYard. which it did. All right, so Florida, we all saw this driver who did the U-turn on the tollway, and Natalia was just saying that this happened in her hometown or near her hometown. So that's crazy. But there's actually dash cam footage of this now that they released, which I really wish they wouldn't have released to the public.
Yeah.
I clicked on it, I saw it, and it's not so great. So this driver was literally pulled a U-turn in the Florida Turnpike or tollway. His company is now locked down. They've revoked their authority. They've removed the insurance, and DeSantis has put an extradition on the driver. The driver's currently in California, and he's being extradited back to Florida. So, but just this is one of those scenarios where he was just horrible driving. I mean,
it says it in the title.
So,
illegal.
Illegal U-turn, but
Right.
I mean, you can not only that, but you see the U-turn, no U-turn there
Right.
too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's unfortunately, these, like, that's illegal for a regular vehicle. And I think there's just this extra level of responsibility and accountability when you are a driver. And these kind of stories make me deeply uncomfortable and sick because, we want to trust that the people on the road with the most power are the ones that are going to have that respect and that care. And also as like a citizen, giving them the space that they need to do the things that they need to do safely. And that just, there's no part of me that could support any,
right.
like,
Right.
I don't understand why he thought that was okay. Like that was even an option. Like that would be too hard for a vehicle to like make that turn and pull out safely. What makes you think you could put this 80,000 pound? I don't even know how much they weigh.
We should even putting a link up to Mother Trucker News on this. Alex put a post out on this and just went through every bullet point that's wrong here. And there are so many things wrong on this. And this is where when there's a bad actor in the industry, they need to be monitored, managed, and shut down. And we have all this technology that monitors, to Dale Prax's point, we have all this technology that monitors and manages carriers, yet we don't take any action on it. We know that there's problems. We know that it's a bad operator, but we don't do anything about it. So, and then we end up with something like this.
Well, I hope he doesn't have a history of being a bad actor in the company, letting him get away with it.
The company, it's a bad situation all across the board. So this should not have happened. So it's an unfortunate event, and I normally don't talk accidents. I'm typically adverse to that, and I avoid accident discussions, which is why I'm not playing the video of the drive cam. But this particular one kind of resonates with me because it's frankly one of the stupidest accidents I've seen. And we've had, when I ran trucking companies, I had run-unders, but they were drivers crossing the road legally, and it was a poor decision, and the accidents happen. So this was really like, what are you doing here? So bad choices. So all right, so Missy put her question in on Facebook, it looks like. So if you're a trucking company with a limited marketing budget, what should you do at a minimum, or even just to get started for a marketing?
Well, for a trucking company, marketing usually equates to recruiting. So if you're recruiting and trying to get drivers, I think it's that's one avenue. If you're trying to start a company and have a brand, I think it's having a name, a logo, and a website. But even still, at a trucking company, there's owner operators. They don't need to operate with a brand. They're operating on load boards. They don't really require marketing.
So I think that's, so I'm going to have to look at good small companies that are out there. And I have one coming on next week, Hellbent Express. So people know who he is. So I think there is reasons that I look at, other, like Pam Polyak, she has 35 or 40 trucks. So people relatively know her. There are smaller companies that can put their brand out there. So it's commonly thought that, so in the past, you're absolutely 100% right that trucking companies only marketed for driver recruiting. I think that's now changing. I think that because that is not that expensive, like we were talking about before, to take some basic actions, but then they now are starting to go, wait a second, we can actually do some things here. So, and I think we're going to see that change.
I think the personal brand is something that we're starting to see. Like, I love seeing drivers on TikTok. I love when they give tours of the trucks. I love when they talk about like safety and what that means, what that encompasses. There's a lot that you can do. And by small company, I'm thinking extra small, because that's the space that I worked in when I was working with drivers. And had they had some of the opportunity back in 2016 that they're going to have 2025, 2026, you know, it may have been a little different for them as far as the business they were able to build. So, and to your point, that costs next to nothing.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, I met Hellbent at a show, and I can't put a finger on it, and they passed out stickers.
Mats.
And I have it on my computer.
Yep, Mats.
So, I mean, I know who they are. I've got the sticker. It's on my computer, but like still, like that branding, that touch, showing up, meeting people, they kind of go beyond just being a fleet. Like they go to being an advocate in the industry and having industry conversations.
Yeah, he speaks at Mac OEM events. So because he's gotten that good at working the truck, he picked something. He found a niche.
Yeah.
He decided he was going to do something. He picked multiple things, to be honest with you, at this point. But if you're a 10 truck operator, you can still make a major impact in the industry. You don't have to be 1,000 trucks. You can be 10 trucks. You can be 5 trucks. You can be a Chris Thomas and be a single truck operator and still be a thought leader. And, you know, there are many other Chris Thomases out there. There's very few 10 truck thought leaders out there because they haven't stepped forward yet.
Right.
But they will. I think there's going to be more of them, and they're going to grow, because when you come down, you go. So when you walk into a customer and you have 15 trucks and you have all this great thought leadership out there, and they figure that out, those small customers, that's going to be a differentiator. The big customers, it might not, but the small customers, it will be a differentiator. When the owner of a $20 million widget maker is making the decision on, am I going to run with this guy or girl, they're gonna, that social media impact, if that resonates with them, will make a differentiator.
And I think to get started, it's just answering a couple of questions of like, what are you really good at? What are you passionate about? What do you advocate for in your industry? And I think drivers have a really unique opportunity and perspective. And I think it started in COVID when we would see more and more of them kind of stepping up and sharing. But they were, you know, and like on Instagram, and I love seeing them on, you know, LinkedIn, which is a professional platform. Not that I treat it that way, but they're, you know, they do have such a unique perspective and opportunity for education, not just within the industry, but within the general public. And I think people find it fascinating. And that's where I think there's missed opportunity, or opportunity that people are starting to tap into.
I don't think I've ever given you my theory on why the drivers and why this industry has been so adopting of personal brand and social media, but it's because we started it with the CB. So drivers 50 years ago were running around with CBs, talking out there, chatting it up, and they ran around forever that way. And they've always been those out there broadcasting their thoughts and whatnot forever and ever. And this is just a bigger channel for them. So as they've started to learn to use this as a replacement of that tool, and I think they're starting to learn it more and more now. And you see that. So you definitely see them as using it as they're driving down the road. They'll just park their phone on the dash and start recording them, and they'll get on X or whatever and start talking with a group of drivers, just like they would on the CB, except they don't have a 10-mile range. They have a world range.
Yep.
So, and it's ultimately replaced the CB. So, but I do feel like it's that evolution of the CB, and that's why they're adopting it so easily, is it's the CB. So, so let's talk a little bit about freight movement. So what can all our viewers expect at Atlanta and Denver? And
so I hear the location is really cool. We are, still getting some registrations, but nearing being full. We've got 3PLs, BCs, carriers, brokers, tech providers. We've got a good mix of people coming tonight. And really, we just create the atmosphere for people to connect and have a conversation.
Yep.
Like it's not like world renowned, but it's about making the industry more accessible and saying like, hey, you know how to meet somebody? Go to their backyard and invite them out for some tea, right? So it's like, that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing here in Atlanta. Oh, that's funny, tea. Peach tea. It's Atlanta. Anyways, so that's what we're doing. We're setting up this, it's just a networking event, happy hour, if you will. Come out, have a couple drinks, and meet people from the space. And we actually have people driving in from Charlotte and Alabama. Like people are actually making a little trip to be here tonight. So that's really cool. We actually seen that in Chicago too, where like they're like, oh, I'm flying through, I'm gonna stay, or extending their trip. So people are starting to come to these events and see the value in them and like make it part of their game plan, which is really cool to see, because where else are you getting this? Like I said, it's not like, but it's like nobody else is doing this, and we're bringing brands together that didn't normally connect. They didn't put the pieces together and say, hey, let's have an event in Atlanta or wherever. So we're getting some brands that support bringing the industry together, support the conversations. Their competitors might show up, but they know that there's so much value in just getting people together. I know I keep saying that word, but that's what it's really about.
And I think having the competitors together like that, it's not a place where we expect business deals to happen. And I think that's what's so attractive about it. Like that's like the pretend like rule is like no sales pitches. Like we want people to come together as people with a common interest and some potentially even common goals, depending on where they sit within the supply chain. And I think that's the part where, like Jennie said, it's not groundbreaking, but not a lot of people are doing this. But if you go to an industry event, this is what's happening afterwards.
Right.
It's like, it's the best part of from my perspective, the best part of the industry events, just without a ticket sale, without the talks, without the expo floors. It's just people in the industry hanging out, having a good time, and maybe shaking hands with people they wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to do that with.
Right.
I know I'm looking forward to meeting quite a few people tonight.
Yeah.
I signed up and I was like, I've heard of you.
I have a lot of internet friends I finally get to meet tonight.
Yeah.
So the day filled up with meeting after meeting after meeting that's pre to the event. And I probably could have hung around tomorrow with more meetings, but I didn't. This one's interesting. It's evolving. We do have our schedule nearly done for next year. So we have the months all picked. We just need to pick the days. We have some of those locations picked out. We are starting out in January in Phoenix, but we don't have the date yet. And we need
to talk to Lars Ward.
Lars has already been talked to. Lars and I, there's already been some things fired off.
You said Phoenix. We're talking Phoenix.
So, called out.
As have a few other people in Phoenix been talked to. So Phoenix has been landed. So, but Phoenix is going to be the first destination, followed by Manifest, which we are locking down Manifest, and I think we got Prohibition, which is a new bar that can handle 500 people.
Ooh.
So, which,
Wait, did we just go from 300 to 500?
Yeah, we went from 300 to 500.
Okay, so we went from 100 to planning 300 to now planning 500?
Well, it sort of comes down to like there's only a couple venues that can handle 300, and then there's prohibition, which is as you're walking out of the conference center, there's an escalator that goes up above Starbucks. Right at the top of that escalator
Yeah,
is
are we
prohibition.
addressing prohibition?
I think that we probably should
Ooh.
pop that as an idea. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot of fun.
I am.
So I don't know.
I'll be there.
Maria's had some good ideas on that, so we'll see where we go. We have another question from Wesley here. Let's pop that up as
He's
we're
got the
wrapping
hard
up.
ones.
He goes, you should check out Ed Burns has a Burns Giving a week before Thanksgiving. It's a pretty awesome networking event with a lot of people in the freight industry a week before Thanksgiving near Harrisburg, PA. Well, I love Ed Burns.
We heart Ed Burns.
So,
Yeah, we heart you, Ed Burns. Send us an
we
invite.
heart you. I can't,
Everybody all together.
Ed has been on Driving Forward as well. I think he's. Have you guys
we've
had him
talked
on?
to
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
So yeah.
That was genuine. We heart Ed Burns.
So yep, he's a great guy. So a Burns Giving. So.
Burns giving.
So love that. And I have some folks in that work for me that are in that area of the world. So maybe we can send some GLCS folks out to support Ed. So we'll see where that goes. Coming up on time, I guess we are at time.
No,
so
we're at time.
I'm gonna skip an outro, but where can people find you guys at?
On LinkedIn, that's the best place.
Yeah.
Jennie Malafarina, connect with me there. Send me a message. Wesley, I expect you to be in my inbox. Ed Burns, we need to talk. Water sport. Everybody else, send me a note.
Yeah, also on LinkedIn, Whitney Johnson Cowell, or on my website, Sober Soul.
Perfect. So stay curious, stay informed, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, drive forward with purpose and innovation. Thanks for watching.